Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Monica Williams, and I'm with USDA's Agricultural Research Service. In case you didn't know, March is National Nutrition Month. And with the weather getting warmer and spring being around the corner, we thought now would be a great time to have a conversation about maintaining a healthy diet. So today we'll be talking with two nutrition experts about eating healthy and things you can do to maintain a healthy diet. And with us, we have Colleen Sideck, who is a registered dietitian and technical information specialist, as well as Dr. Patrice Armstrong, who is the Nutrition Food Safety Program Lead. And both Colleen and Dr. Armstrong are with nutrition.gov at the National Agricultural Library, which is part of USDA's Agricultural Research Service. So Colleen and Dr. Armstrong, could you both tell the viewers a little bit about yourselves? Colleen, let's start with you, and then Dr. Armstrong, if you could just follow up.
Hi, everyone. I am happy to be here with you today to answer your questions. As Monica said, my name is Colleen Sideck, and I am a registered dietitian with a master's in public health. I work as a technical information specialist at the National Agricultural Library, and in my role, I manage the content, social media, and outreach for the nutrition.gov website. Prior to joining the National Agricultural Library team, I worked as a clinical dietitian and also in the corporate wellness field, where I was a wellness solutions manager and national board certified health and wellness coach.
Thank you again, Monica, for inviting us to join you today. I'm excited to be here with you and the rest of the audience. As Monica mentioned, my name is Dr. Patrice Armstrong, and my background is as a nutrition researcher, working with universities, the government, and also the private sector in the US, Europe, and also Latin America to determine how nutrition can improve our health.
Great. Okay, so before we get started, if you all have questions that you would like for Colleen and Dr. Armstrong to address, go ahead and put them into the comments section, and then we'll address as many as we can as we go along, okay? So as the questions are coming in, I do have a question. Everywhere we look, we see people are wearing some kind of fitness tracker. And, you hear a lot about people saying they need to get in their 10,000 steps. And so to me, that says that, people are thinking about their health. So Dr. Armstrong, what would be your advice to people about what they can do to stay healthy?
Great question. I think it's important to consider overall health and wellness. And nutrition and exercise are two key lifestyle factors to consider, in addition to sleep and also stress management. And we understand that in order to create to maintain healthy habits, sometimes we need assistance, which we can use food and nutrition trackers to provide us reminders about moving our body, drinking water, and also to help monitor our progress. But it's important to make a few small changes and not make several changes at the same time. For instance, for increasing your physical activity, you can decide to go take the stairs versus taking the elevator, or go for a walk during the first 10 minutes of your lunch. You can also switch out an afternoon snack of chocolate for a piece of fruit. But it's important to understand and know about being motivated for having a healthy lifestyle, and know that there's long-term benefits from eating healthy. For instance, you can reduce your risk from developing heart disease, diabetes, or type 2 diabetes or osteoporosis. But there's also short-term benefits for eating healthy as well, in which you'll be able to help both your mind and your body feel better by having the nutrients that your body needs.
That's great advice. Like, I'm glad you mentioned the factors such as sleep because I myself, I noticed that, when I get more sleep, say 7, 8 hours versus the 4 to 5 hours, I wake up feeling like I'm thinking more clearly and that I'm ready for the day. And what you said about nutrition providing short-term benefits, um, waking up in the morning, I read something not too long ago about waking up in the morning and having a healthy breakfast and how it improves your cognitive thinking.
Exactly. You're completely correct.
Okay, so our next question here is, I have been trying to lose weight, but it's hard. Do you have tips for helping me meet my weight loss goals?
Yes, it can be challenging during this time that we're in a pandemic, since we're at home more and that our schedule has changed in order to meet some of our weight um, weight weight maintenance goals. But it's important to remember that the nutrient and health needs for every person is different. It's impacted by our age, our gender, and also what our weight goals are. But there are meal planners that can help assist you in developing a healthier eating style that can help you with meeting your weight and also health needs. We really recommend contacting a registered dietitian to really be able to identify what different nutrients would be helpful for you and also that who can assist you with developing your meals as well, in addition to using the tools to create your meals.
Yeah, it definitely is challenging right now because we're just not really able to get out. I thought about, you said something about using a meal planner to create your meals. I have even heard of people prepping their meals ahead of time, into containers for the week. So that might be a good way to stay on track and actually save yourself some time.
Definitely.
All right, our next question is, can you recommend an app or a tool for tracking my diet?
That is a great question. And we know technology can be really helpful in supporting healthy habits, but there are so many apps out there currently to choose from. You can find apps to be used to track your diet, track your food groups, how much water you're drinking, tracking mindful eating habits or exercise. So there's a variety of different apps out there that can help to meet your needs, whatever they are. One thing you want to keep in mind, though, when selecting an app is you want to ensure it is using information from credible sources that are based in science. And fortunately, a lot of the diet apps that are out there currently use data from the USDA's Food Data Central, which is a nutrient database that provides nutrient content in certain foods. So for example, you could look up a food and see what its calorie, fat, carbohydrate, protein, vitamin, and mineral content is based on a serving size. So, it's great that there's a lot of apps out there. They can provide, in addition to helping you track your behaviors, they can provide information, and they can be free and convenient to use, but you want to make sure before you select one that it is using a credible source of information.
Yeah, there definitely are a lot of apps out there, but it is nice to know that, a lot of them use the content from USDA's Food Data Central. All right, let's move on to our next question. But if you're just joining us, we are talking about maintaining a healthy diet and eating right with Colleen Sideck, a registered dietitian and technical information specialist, and Dr. Patrice Armstrong, who is a nutrition and food safety program lead with nutrition.gov, and they're with the National Agricultural Library, which is part of USDA's Agricultural Research Service. So here is the next question. Are there certain ages at which the body's metabolism slows down?
Thanks, Monica. I'm sure this is a question that many listeners are having. And first off, I will say that as we age, the body goes through a natural process called sarcopenia, which is a natural gradual loss of muscle. And in addition, as we age, we might become less active due to other factors in our life, and we might lose muscle mass that way. So from both of those factors and loss of muscle mass, that can impact metabolism. However, the good thing is that regular exercise can help you to maintain that muscle over time. So what do you consider? How do you maintain that exercise routine? I know that can be challenging because as we go through different phases of life, different factors come up and we experience different challenges and barriers along the way. One thing to keep in mind is that you want your routine to be sustainable and enjoyable for you. So that might mean it looks different than what your friend's routine looks like or your family member's routine. But it really considers your preferences, your schedule, your fitness level, and physical abilities. I'll give a quick example of a change I've needed to make recently to stay active and maintain my routine with a changing schedule. My partner recently got an 11-month-old puppy, and with our busy schedules, it can be tough to fit in exercise after work, and we did previously, but now we also have this puppy that we need to tire out. So we adjusted our exercise schedule, so now we are walking or running with the puppy, sort of to do double duty in the short amount of time that we have. We run when we're feeling up to it, but sometimes our bodies are a little more tired and we choose to walk those days instead. And the important thing is we're staying consistently active over time. And so you might have to make adjustments in your own routine as things come up in your schedule. But having that mindset of being flexible and listening to your body can be really useful. And there are a lot of apps out there as well that can help you in tracking your exercise so that you can monitor your progress over time, which can be really motivating and helping you stick with your habits. Before we move on to the next question, one more thing I want to mention is that if you are new to exercise, or if you have certain health conditions, it is recommended that you talk to your doctor before starting a new routine to make sure it is right for you.
Yeah, I think it's important what you said about, everybody has a different routine. So you can't look at your friend's routine or your sister's routine or whomever and think that you're supposed to be on the same level. You have to do what works for you. And then you mentioned about, how you lose muscle as you get older, perhaps. And, my mother's always telling me, she's in her 70s, she's always telling me, when you get older, you're going to have to, use weights and do your stretching every day. So, yeah, I totally understand what you're saying about that. So.
Yeah, sounds like your mother is passing along some wisdom there.
All right, here's our next question. I'm trying to learn what nutrients are in my food so I can eat healthier, but it's hard to find a list of nutrients that are in common foods. Dr. Armstrong, do you have any suggestions?
Well, this is a very interesting question, and we really would recommend first evaluating what's in your diet. And this can be done in conjunction with your doctor and also a registered dietitian. This is really important to understand what your particular nutrient levels are for micro and macronutrients. And then we can move on to the next part in terms of being able to use the different resources that are available to identify what are your particular nutrient needs. And the nutrient needs, they vary depending on your age, your activity level, and also your gender, just to name a few items that we should keep in mind. Excuse me. Also, as Colleen had mentioned, there is the nutrient database, Food Data Central, which researchers and professionals use in order to determine what the nutrient content is in food. So you can identify what the different carbohydrates are, fats, and also proteins. But in addition to understanding what's inside of the compounds that are located inside of our food, it's also important too to consider the other factors that may influence the amount of nutrition that we receive from foods, including our environment and also genetics. And so the nutrient database is a great way in which you can actually search for foods and you can identify what are the different vitamins, minerals, fiber, caffeine, and a whole lot more.
Okay, we're going to make sure that we include a link to Food Data Central in the comments section. So our next question is, my friend gives her daughter candy for doing special chores around the house. Is having candy on occasion a bad thing?
Short answer is definitely not. But with candy, it's important to remember that there's added sugars in candy, which are not found naturally in the candy, but it's added during processing. And the important point about these added sugars is that they don't contain some of the more healthier nutrients, such as vitamins, minerals, and also fiber. But the good news is that recently the nutrition food facts label has been updated and it actually indicates the amount of added sugars, which you can use to help guide you on making healthy food choices.
Okay, so we'll make sure we include that link in the comments section as well. That's a great resource. All right, our next question is about fruit. Should I be worried about the sugar in my fruit?
This question is a great follow-up to the one Patrice just answered. It's worth recognizing the sugar in fruit is what we consider natural sugar. So it is present in the fruit as it is growing, and it is not added afterwards during processing like added sugars are. So along with this distinction, fruit provides a variety of healthful nutrients in addition to the sugar. So it provides vitamins, minerals, fiber, it can hydrate you. So you have to take that into consideration when you're deciding, how much fruit is right for you and your diet. Fruit, it can definitely be part of a balanced diet, and we know it's tasty. There are a lot of healthful ways that you can prepare it in recipes as well.
Okay, I actually have a friend of mine who dehydrates her fruits, and she has them as a snack in place of chips or something that's unhealthy. Is that a good alternative?
Yeah, that can definitely be a good alternative. It adds more fruit to your day, so more nutrients. Yep.
Okay. All right, our next question. My doctor says I need to cut back on carbs, too much sugar. I heard overnight oats are healthy for you, but oats seem high in carbs. Should I cut down on my overnight oats?
Well, first off, I am also a big fan of overnight oats. So I sympathize with this listener wanting to continue with their oats. They're a quick, easy, convenient option that can be taken on the go. And a good thing to keep in mind here is that there are a lot of different types of carbohydrates out there, and there are some types that provide more nutrition benefits than others. For example, foods like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans and legumes, and dairy, they're all sources of carbohydrates. but they provide other nutrients along with the carbohydrate, including, protein, vitamins, minerals, fiber. So it's worth keeping that in mind, that they're not solely providing carbs, even though they are a source. They have some added nutrition benefit. When looking at overnight oats specifically, I don't know the recipe that this listener has used, but they usually contain oats, which are a whole grain, some sort of dairy like milk or yogurt, and oftentimes fruit too. So, they're pulling in nutritious types of carbs into the recipe. And if you, as an individual, are concerned about your carb intake, that's definitely something you can bring to your doctor or a registered dietitian, because they know your health needs best and would be able to advise you if you should be eating fewer carbs. The body and brain naturally do need some carbohydrates to function, but there are certain health conditions where you may need to consume a little bit less.
Okay, thank you for that. If you all are just joining us, we are talking about maintaining a healthy diet and eating right. And we are talking with Colleen Sideck, who is a registered dietitian and a technical information specialist, and Dr. Patrice Armstrong, who is the Nutrition and Food Safety Program Lead over at nutrition.gov, which is part of the National Agricultural Library, which is also part of USDA's Agricultural Research Service. So our next question, this is a fun one: which has more cholesterol, donuts or bagels?
Well, the short answer is it depends. Cholesterol is actually naturally found in the body, and it's encouraged to have lesser cholesterol-rich foods. But however, for bagels and cookies, it really depends on the amount of dietary cholesterol that's in them. And dietary cholesterol actually comes from animal sources like meats and cheeses. So depending on the amount of egg yolks, milk, and butter in the recipe will determine which one may be healthier.
Got it. So it really depends on the ingredients that make up the food as to whether or not it's high in cholesterol.
Exactly.
Okay. So we've had a lot of great questions. Remember, if you have questions that you would like for Colleen and Dr. Armstrong to address, just put them into the comments and we will try to get to all your questions before we end our show today. All right, our next question is, I don't eat meat. How can I get enough protein?
Well, this is a question I have posed, being a vegetarian, and the great news is there are many sources of protein that's available if you don't eat meat. If you eat seafood, then fish and shellfish are possibilities. Also, consuming dairy and eggs are also good sources of protein. But if you're vegan, you have options as in terms of eating pulses, which include beans, dried peas, and also lentils. You can also choose to eat tofu or soy and seitan. But our protein, it's also going to be dependent on your age and also if you have any other underlying health conditions. So there's online calculators that can assist you with determining more precisely what your protein requirements are.
Okay. Here's a question that I think a lot of parents may have. Does my child have to drink milk to get calcium?
If you are a parent that has a child that doesn't prefer milk, you do not need to worry, because there are a lot of other sources of calcium that you can get, foods and beverages. So For example, a lot of the alternative milks that are currently on the market, like soy milk, almond milk, oat milk, and cashew milk, a lot of them have been fortified with calcium. And fortified is just a fancy word that means calcium has been added to the food product during processing as an added nutrition benefit. So in addition to those beverages, you can also find calcium in foods such as sardines, broccoli, kale, fortified tofu, fortified orange juice, fortified breakfast cereals, and the list goes on. So you can find a full list of calcium containing foods and beverages online. And you can look through that, and hopefully there are some options there that your child will enjoy to help them to meet their calcium needs outside of milk as being the only source. We hear about milk, I think most commonly a lot of the times, milk and yogurt and other dairy products as sources of calcium, but know that there are others out there that you can choose from.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they immediately relate calcium to having a glass of milk, but it is nice to know that there are other food options out there that we can have that will still meet our calcium needs. All right, our next question, what type of activities do you recommend for kids? My kids have been spending a lot of time at home, and I'm looking for things to keep them busy.
This listener sounds like a lot of us right now, having to adjust to a different normal where our kids might be at home with us as we are working, and we're trying to keep them occupied so that we can get our own work done and our own chores around the house too. So the good news is that nutrition.gov does have a variety of activities for kids. That includes exercise videos like kids yoga, kids dance, and other kids fitness videos that you can play and have your kids follow along to. It can be a nice break when they've been sitting all day from online school to get them up and moving, and hopefully get them excited about exercise and fitness as well. And then our Kids Corner section of the website is the place to go for a lot of our nutrition and food safety activities. There you'll find printable materials like crossword puzzles, word searches, coloring pages, and other activity sheets that you can print and have your kids do. And we also have online activities such as interactive websites and other interactive activities that could be good if you don't have access to a printer or you're just trying to save paper even. So regardless of your needs, there hopefully will be an activity for you, and I encourage you to browse through our available resources to find something that's a good fit for you and your child. At the end of the day, whatever you choose, they're going to have a lesson in something, whether it's nutrition, physical activity, or food safety. So it's up to you to see what fits best with your needs. And I'll give a quick shout out to any teachers who might be listening, because these resources could also be helpful for you in teaching your students. So they could be assigned as a homework assignment or part of a classroom lesson.
Wow, sounds like you have a lot of things there, a nice variety. So we will definitely put that link into the comment section too. All right, we have maybe time for one or two more questions. My son is a really picky eater. How can I get him to eat healthy and try more foods?
I completely understand this question, as I have a 2.5-year-old son and sorting through food preferences for him. And keep in mind that it may take time for children to be accustomed to new flavors, but mealtime activities are a fantastic way in order to incorporate new foods into their diet. For instance, you also may want to get them involved with the grocery shopping whether it's actually in person at the store grocery shopping or virtually, where they can select a new fruit that they're interested in trying, or incorporating them also in the meal preparation, in which they can help to stir. If you're creating a new loaf of whole grain bread, they can also be a part of the um, creation of the meal. And you can also hide food. So you can hide some pumpkin in your mac and cheese, or you can include spinach in an afternoon smoothie. But speaking with your doctor is also your pediatrician is a good way to also be able to customize the food preferences and needs for your child, so that it fits right for what you're hoping to accomplish.
Yeah, I like that idea about hiding spinach in a smoothie. You could actually balance the flavor out and maybe sweeten it up with some fruit, make apples or pineapples or something, and they would never know that they had spinach.
Exactly.
All right, let's get to our next question. I want my family to eat better. How do I make the foods that we like and still eat healthy?
Great question. It's so important to keep our cultural and traditions when it comes, especially when it comes to food, and being able to incorporate healthier ways in terms of creating the meals that we're so accustomed to having. And there are various different options that you can try, including if you're baking, you can substitute ingredients. For instance, instead of using oil, you can use applesauce, or you can bake or even roast a dish versus frying it, in order to have a healthier version of the meal that you're so accustomed to eating. We also have meal prep and cooking on the nutrition.gov site, which will provide you with so many delicious options for healthy food choices that really are family friendly and include pancakes, enchiladas, fried rice, popsicles, and so much more. So I highly encourage you to check out our recipe section as well on nutrition.gov.
Thank you, Dr. Armstrong. We'll make sure we include the meal prep and cooking tips in the comments section too. I think we have time for one more question. Um, do you have healthy eating resources and recipes for traditional foods that my family likes?
This is a great question, important question to finish up with today, because we know that traditional foods, cuisines, they provide a variety of healthy options. We have recipes that use some cultural and traditional ingredients, such as oven fried yuca. Patrice mentioned enchiladas and fried rice. We have stir fry recipes, pupusa recipes. So there are healthy recipe options using traditional foods that you can find on our website. And then we also have some nutrition tips that consider different cultures and their preferences and traditions, including advice for Latino, Native American, African American, and Asian cuisines. I'll note that I mentioned some example recipes that we have on our website, and we are always looking for more and suggestions from you, our listeners and users, on what you might want to see. So you can definitely use our contact form on our Contact Us page if you have a recipe that you'd like to see on our website, or a type of recipe, and we can, search and see what's out there, and if we can get that added. I'll also note for individuals who speak Spanish, we do have resources in Spanish available on our website, and you can simply click the Espanol toggle that's on the top right corner of all pages to access the nutrition resources that we have in Spanish. I do want to mention, I know we haven't mentioned many specific cultural tips, and that is because I know the listener didn't mention any examples of specific foods or their own traditions, and I don't want to make assumptions, but if they or any other listeners would like specific advice based on your needs and cultural preferences, you can definitely work with a registered dietitian in your area to share more details about yourself and your needs, and then they'll also be able to come back with more specific advice, including nutrition tips and recipes.
That's great. All right. Well, we are out of time. This has been a great conversation. Thank you, Dr. Patrice Armstrong and Colleen Sideck, for your answers to our questions today. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If we weren't able to get to your questions today, we will be posting them on our ARS website at www.ars.usda.gov. And all the questions that we didn't get to today will be posted there. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed this conversation and picked up some useful tips on eating healthy. And for more nutrition-related resources, you can also visit nutrition.gov. Thanks for joining us.